Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to talk about other advanced SEO techniques, and really these have come about over a number of years of mucking around with sites and ranking for clients and troubleshooting particular issues that come up. And they really come up as a result, a majority of time, a number of these have come up as a result of having site A and site B, and I'm actually competing with site A, and I own or I'm actually looking at ranking for a client site B, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, well, what really is the difference between site A and site B? And going through the process of troubleshooting and understanding exactly what the difference is between the two, and then implementing the change, and a little bit better, of course, and looking at outranking them. So if we go through, and we'll get straight into it, if we have a look at the first one is actually the location of your site. So, for instance, if you're looking at ranking for Los Angeles or within the Los Angeles geographical area for a specific keyword within that particular region, then it's really good if you can look at getting the site hosted within that particular region. And that means that if it's a new site that's being built, or if you're looking at building a new site for a client, or if there's an opportunity to look at shifting them across to a different host, then you look at shifting them across to the same geographical location. The benefit is that Google actually sees that your site is located within that geographical location, so it's a little bit of an authority ranking factor. Internal link building. Now, there was an SEO guy that I've known for a number of years, who is considered to be one of the masters and gurus in SEO, and he shared this technique with me, and we actually played around with it together with a fairly large site, and for a fairly short period of time we were actually able to outrank for a major keyword. And what we essentially did is we set up a solid internal link building structure. And when I'm saying internal link building structure, they're links within the body content of the page that link through to each additional subpage. Now what this does is you first of all make sure that the link you have going through to that subpage, you make sure it's descriptive and relevant to the subpage you're linking to. And what it does is it actually passes the page rank down of the site from the home page, and it spreads it evenly across the entire site. The secondary thing that it actually does is it passes page rank down from one page of the site through to another page of the site. So it is a really good structure that you can use, and Wikipedia have actually used it really well, and they've set up an excellent internal link building structure where the site is actually self-sustaining now. So there are a number of sites linking through to Wikipedia, but as a result of the way they're linking within themselves, you could remove a lot of those links and the site would still be self-sustaining and still would rank on its own. IP addresses of inbound links. Now this is a really good one, and it is a little bit advanced again, and there are a number of different services that you can use to have a look at the inbound links of sites coming in. And let's say if you were to work with a web host, and if the web host were to place a link on the footer of each of their sites back through to a client site or to your site, then you'd want to have a look to see what IP address each of those sites linking into you is coming from. Because if you were to have 10 sites, for instance, that are linking into you, and they would all be sitting on the same server, and then you were to have 10 sites that are sitting on different servers, each different server, then those particular sites that are on different servers are going to provide a much stronger link value than the sites all sitting on the same server and or the same IP address. And the way that Google actually see it is they do actually have a look at the IP address of the sites that are coming in, or the inbound links, and if they find that the IP address is the same, then there's a chance that they may consider that the sites are owned by the same person. So it's important to, if you have the opportunity and you're looking at getting looking at getting inbound links from different IP addresses from across the board and across the spectrum, and looking at obviously the location of those IP addresses, then you can take advantage of that factor, because that will show that you're being linked from theoretically different pieces of real estate or different websites that are out there, as opposed to them all being located within the same location on the same server. The length of your domain registration, and that's really talking about how long you're actually registering your domain for. Google want to see that you're in there for a long time, not necessarily just a good time. So they like to see a long domain registration. So they like to see if you're registering a domain, you're not just registering it for the minimum 12 months. You're registering it for 10 years. And again, I've come across this with a client, and it was just a little tiny thing, the same thing, 2 sites looking at ranking. I overcompensated in a number of different ranking factors, yet the 2 sites were still looking at ranking the same level. And I checked out how long they registered their domain for, and they registered it for like 10 years. And the other one was registering year by year. So it's an opportunity for you to have a look at your domain registration. And domains are cheap. You know, it's not something you should necessarily skimp on. They're so cheap to do. Why not invest that little bit of extra money and get the client, or get your site registered for the maximum amount of time? The IP addresses of accounts used for Google, and some people may be familiar with what I'm talking about here, but this is for working with a client. And if you're looking at setting up specific Google accounts for things like Google Places and other Google techniques that you're setting up, is to have a look at setting them up on different IP addresses. Because what Google actually do is they do cross-reference, and they have a look to see how many the IP address of the account, the Google account which is being set up, and if you exceed or you reach a certain amount, and within a period of time, they start asking for a secondary confirmation. That secondary confirmation is normally via mobile or via telephone, where they ask to ring in and tell you a PIN number, or they ask to text you a PIN number. And then as that secondary measure, once you reach a certain number of those, then they actually cut you off. So it's important that you are able to change the IP address or use multiple IP addresses when you're registering Google accounts, and don't do too many all in one hit. And certainly, I mean, this one that I'm telling you now is a little bit of a grey hat thing, but it can be interpreted as grey hat. But if you're looking at doing this and setting something up for a client and doing it well for them, then you need to have control over setting it up. No crawl and no index pages. Now, pages that you don't want to be indexed, and actually, let's take a step back. When you have a site set up, what you have is you have the link juice coming through to your homepage, let's say, and then you have it being evenly distributed throughout the site based on the linking patterns that you've set up on the site. So if you have it going through to a privacy policy or a contact us page, or pages you don't necessarily want to have indexed and you don't want to show up in the search engine results, then you put on a no index or a no follow on the actual pages that you're linking through to. And essentially, the best way to do it is in your robots.txt file, is to put to no index for those subpages you don't want to have indexed. That will reduce or prevent the link juice from being passed down to those pages, and allows it to be passed on to the pages that are really important and that are really specific that you want to get ranked. Translate your pages into different languages. Now, this is again for global reach, and it's a part of a recent update that was done on the Google blog, and they were talking about making sure that you are, first of all, if you have multiple domain names for different countries and regions that you're focusing on, making sure that you're reducing the amount of duplicate content that are on those pages. If you do have duplicate content on different global properties, then make sure you have them indexed to one global property, and you reduce the indexing of other global properties for that particular duplicate content. But also look at getting your pages translated into different languages. And by having them translated into different languages, it actually shows Google that you are looking at achieving and reaching a global audience. But now, mind you, what I'm talking about here is Google can read in English, and they can read content in all these different languages. If you chuck it all on there and you have it all exactly the same, then you're going to be slapped for duplicate content. So have it on there and have it translated into different languages, but make sure you're getting the no index done for the different languages. Geo-targeting, and this is done via on-page and off-page of the site, and this is done on the on-page of the site, where you can pop a little bit of code in there, and you can do a search for this in Google, which will tell Google the geographical location of the site. And the purpose of that is to basically tell them where your business is located. And if you're focusing on keywords that are targeting businesses located within a specific region, so if you only service a specific region, which is the case for a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, then you're actually telling Google where the business is and where it actually services. So, and on off-page, the way you perform that is through Webmaster Tools. Webmaster Tools gives you the opportunity to single down and tell them what country you're servicing, or if you're actually servicing global reach as well. Specify your with or without www. Now, what I'm talking about is if we were to have the domain name, www.exampledomain.com, you can actually build links to that as http:// www.exampledomain.com or http://exampledomain.com. So without the www. And you need to be conscious and aware of how you're actually building your links, because when you're building them back, if you're building them with or without the www, then it's going to impact on the keywords you're actually looking at ranking for. And this is a bit of an important one for you to keep an eye on. Now, and you can actually specify within Webmaster Tools, it's a feature they updated, I think it was this year, where you can actually go into the advanced settings, and you can determine and you can tell Google if you want them to show up with or without the www. An extra thing to do as well is to set up 301 redirects from your HTTP, so from the whichever version you want it to come from and whichever version you want it to go through to. So every time someone types in www.exampledomain.com, if you want it to go without the www, then or get it to automatically 301 redirect through to it without the www. Again, this is an advanced sort of technique, so this might go over the head of a number of people listening to it. XML feed sitemaps. Now you can put a sitemap on your site, and the purpose of an XML feed sitemap, and you want it to be a dynamic XML feed sitemap, is what it will do is it will tell Webmaster Tools, or essentially Google, every time you're updating a page on your site and how often you're updating it, and it will allow Webmaster Tools to, as an additional measure, to index those pages more effectively. So this would be used in combination with pinging by having a dynamic XML site feed. It just lets them know every single time. And when you go into Webmaster Tools, if you have a look at it, there's actually a section under there that tells you how many pages are within your sitemap and how many pages they're indexing as well. It doesn't actually tell you at this stage of recording this video, it doesn't actually tell you what those pages are, but it does give you the total number of pages they've indexed in comparison to the total number of pages that are on your site. And finally, to add social media buttons to your posts and site. And this is really to allow for the future of what Google are doing. And this is allowing for you to basically put like that little social media bar on each of your pages, as well as your posts if you have a blog that you're updating. And that's for things like people to click on to like your page, for people to click on the Google Plus, and to retweet. So all of those particular buttons there, you can add those to each one of your posts, and what they will actually do is it will help and assist with the social media building of the site, which will assist with the overall ranking of the site. So again, like I said a few minutes ago now, a number of these techniques that I'm covering will actually go over the head of a number of people, but these are really the key advanced SEO techniques that you look at implementing as you go through and you troubleshoot to look at outranking clients, to outranking other sites. And if you have an opportunity, I recommend that you implement as many of these as are applicable to the site that you're working on or your site, as these are factors that Google are either keeping an eye on now or factors that they're looking at building into their update and algorithms.